Hi, hello. I'm back again with another video. This one is quite different than my other content, but this is a variety channel, so expect the unexpected. Today, I will be painting a rock. Yeah, you heard me. A rock. You know, like one that you'd find by the road or one that you go search for by the ditch that you'll probably get dysentery from. Yeah, a rock. Obviously, rocks aren't prime painting material, but it's something that I do in my free time every now and then, and I decided to record my process this time. I'm not an artist, just putting that out there first and foremost. I cannot draw. I cannot paint. I cannot do anything that requires any sort of artistic skill. Well, technically I can, because I have two hands that work, but that doesn't mean I'll be any good at it. But regardless, I would like to share the experience with you guys, so I hope you enjoy. Today, our subject of interest is Charlie from Hazbin Hotel. She's a pretty lovable main character, and I thought, hey, why not? I've painted cartoonish faces on rocks in the past, but I'd really like some more practice, so I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to do so. So first of all, I started with this ridiculously shaky camera. You're just going to have to deal with it for the time being. I promise that it goes away. Anyway, here I am sticking a piece of tape to the table so that when I do paint my rock, it doesn't slip around and I also don't have to hold it. What a valiant sacrifice for this piece of tape's short-lived life. And these two sorry rocks right here are the contestants. They're both round, which was something I was looking for when it came to Charlie's head shape, but I went with the one on the left because it was a little bit larger. These rocks are actually a lot smaller than what you might be thinking, because my hands are not a good reference point. I have really small hands. So more surface area to work with was definitely going to be in my favor when it came to choosing which rock that I wanted to paint on. So after officially kidnapping this rock from the wild, I finally stuck it down and sealed its fate. Then I brought in my palette, which is just a really shitty looking piece of tin foil. Then I grabbed my white paint for the base. Yeah, that's white paint, alright, I see that. Acrylic paint, yep, thank you. I didn't want to use too much, so I just poured a little bit of a dollop out, and then yeah, there we go. Slide out of frame. Thank you, goodbye. Now, prior to filming this video, I actually got some brand new paintbrushes that I wanted to try out. I wanted to try them out even though I didn't know how they were going to feel or how they were going to work against the texture of a rock. Rocks tend to be very porous and absorbent, and I didn't know how this new brush was going to work when it came to this scenario. But hey, regardless of my fear, I began to paint what would be the first layer of white paint because I wanted this to be really opaque to match Charlie's features. And here's where I decided to show the camera my reference picture, but it didn't really get in frame all too well. But that was my reference picture. Yeah. I don't know if I did it justice in the end, but we'll see. And after adding one final coat of white paint, I had to sketch out the features. I was really nervous because I didn't want to mess this up, especially over a white base. Yeah, it could be painted over, but this was really nerve-wracking. But eventually, I took the leap and I started with the eyes of all things. So yeah, here I am sketching the eyes, and this went a lot slower in real time. I'm a pretty bad perfectionist at heart, and this really showed when it came to this project, but I had to keep going. I was glad that the nose was quite easy. It was just a little bit of a dot. But then I had to move on to the mouth, which was also quite scary. I don't know why she's pupilless right now. I guess I just said fuck the left pupil for now. And now she's looking like a toothless cryptid that would probably crawl from under my bed and steal my soul within seconds. So I had to fix that and add the teeth real quickly. After adding her tongue, I added her other pupil, finally. Now she actually has two pupils and can see like a normal person. The finishing touch, of course, was her rosy red cheeks, which were quite easy, considering they were just two circles. Of course, the sketch looks completed here, but my perfectionist brain wasn't having it. I thought the eyes looked way too wonky, and so I went back in and started sketching around the eyes. And this probably wasn't a good idea because, well, she started looking like a Black Parade reject. I don't know if her toothless or if this is worse, to be honest. And here is when I decided to get out one of the newer paintbrushes. I was actually quite worried about it being too long in this scenario. I like to work with really small, modified nose hair brushes because the scale that I work on is so tiny that most brushes just don't really cut it, unless they're modified. Anyway, I started covering up the pupils because I thought that they were drawn a little bit wonky and I didn't like looking at them. So now instead of being a toothless creature, she's a pupilless creature. So now that I didn't have to look at those crazy pupils, I got out my black paint and I decided that I was going to start lining. And I decided to go bold and I started with the eyes once again. Okay, this is looking awful. At this point, I realized that my brush was way too big for what I wanted to do. But I wanted to make it work, so I went back in with some white paint, and I tried to make those chunky-looking, funky-looking, just messed-up lines just a little bit cleaner, and it was not working. I ended up making them way too thin. I had to go back in with some black paint and actually thicken them up again, and this time I really hope that I didn't make them too thick. I was going in with an extremely light hand and trying my best to make sure I didn't have another mess up. But eventually, I did get frustrated and I switched over to my old reliable nose hair modified brush, and things started going rather smoothly on from this point. I began to really work on the eyes and fix them up to make sure that they were looking a lot better than they did before. Oh, well, maybe I lied. She's looking like another Black Parade reject. Whoops. I was getting so sick and tired of working on those eyes, so I decided to go for the mouth instead. And this was easier than I expected it to be, especially because of the thin lines that represented her upper lip and her teeth. But hey, I got it done rather quickly, I'd say, and then I finished it off with the tongue. At that point, the only thing I could do was work on the eyes again, even though they had given me so much hell. I really just had to suck it up and do it. And then finally, I reached a point where I was happy with her right eye. And here's my little jazzy, wiggly fingers expressing my excitement in that moment. So next I had to tackle the left eye, and I really knew I needed to thin up some of the lines around her eye again, particularly the bottom and the top are looking a little bit messed up. So I focused on those areas and did my best to make sure I had kept a steady hand and fixed it up. Oh, great heavens, what did I do? That left eye seriously needs some TLC. I don't know if she woke up that morning and decided to put on more eyeliner on that eye than the other one, because that is looking thick with like 4 C's. So here I am again, thinning up the line, doing my best. But oh no, even more tragedy. I hadn't waited long enough for the black paint to dry before I went in with the white, so now she's got smudged eyeliner. But after a lot more thinning and a lot more waiting, I finally got it to this point. Finally, the outlines were complete. I know a lot of people say that you need to start with your color and then go in with your outlines, just in case you mess up your precious outlines, which, albeit, would have been much smarter, but I really wanted to get the outlines out of the way first, so this is when I started with the color. I started with the back of her mouth, which was this really dark maroon, burgundy, dark red color, whatever you want to call it. And then I ended up mixing pink and red to get the color of her tongue. Then I finally had to destroy the final boss, which was her pupils. I sketched them in with a pencil, and then I really hoped that I wouldn't mess up this time around, so I then went in with the black paint, and the first thought I managed to get was actually quite nice. So, with the confidence that I had, I went in for the second one and completely messed it up. I went back and forth for a while trying to make sure that they were nice and perfect and placed in the correct spot, but, well, even though they were looking really nice at this point, I realized I had messed up big time. You see, the inside of Charlie's eyes aren't actually white. They're a very, very light yellow color. I reluctantly mixed up a yellow color and painted over my hard work that I had just spent the last 20 minutes on. I honestly thought I could get away with just painting around the pupils, but then I realized it was going to be a lot more difficult than I thought, so I just painted over them. Say bye-bye to those pupils for the third time. She's now a pupilless cryptid once again. Once the eyes were finally dry and I got everything nice and neat, I realized this was actually an opportunity to fix what I had been doing wrong the entire time. See, I tried to freehand paint the pupils, which are just really small circles, and that's really hard to do with a brush. But then I remembered a trick that I was shown a very long time ago, and that is the trusty old toothpick. So with a very careful hand, I went in and placed the first dot of the pupil without even sketching or anything, because I really wanted to get this over with. And ta-da! I honestly don't think I did too bad here. I fixed them up just a little bit, and then I thought it looked great. And now she's bald and cheekless, so I went back in and I sketched where her little round red cheeks were supposed to go. And instead of trying to fight that small area with a paintbrush, I went in with a toothpick once again to fill in this really small gap where her cheeks are supposed to go. Now she's actually looking like herself, except one thing's missing. She's bald. So to fix that male pattern baldness issue she has going on, I finally decided to sketch the hair. Then I went back in with my trusty nose hair paintbrush and began to outline the hair. Then, after carefully outlining the hair, I mixed up some yellow because she has this really gorgeous yellow hair, blonde hair, whatever you want to call it. And then I started to fill that in. Then she was finally looking like herself. But then I realized I forgot one last thing, and that's her eyebrows. Luckily, her eyebrows aren't anything too extravagant or special, they're just two little black lines, so I painted those on real quick, and she was finished. To truly seal the deal, I finished it all off with a coat of Mod Podge. Well, not just a coat, but a couple of coats of Mod Podge, and this is just to protect the paint and make sure that it didn't chip off in the future. Obviously, I didn't want all of my hard work to get chipped off just because I dropped it or something along those lines. So, after waiting for it to dry multiple times, she was finally complete. So here she is in some better lighting, and you can really see the texture of the rock come through here. I really actually like seeing the texture. It really helps you remember that this is indeed a rock that I found in nature that I painted on. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. This was such a journey, and this took me over 3 hours to complete, but it was super fun, and I really hope you enjoyed going through the experience with me. Okay, that's it. I'm out. Consider subscribing. It would really be appreciated, but of course, that's up to you. And I will possibly see you some other time. Bye.